Incept 1:30:76, 2002 hours.
Illuminate. Hello, Director.
Frobisher, L. Hello, Katie. It is you, isn't it? I think you knew I'd work that out.
Hey y'all, my name is Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video we are going to be doing another reading challenge in which I try to read 10,000 pages in 10 days. Y'all remember how my last reading challenge went? Where I was like actively failing to hit my page count multiple days in the week? And yet for some reason I think this is gonna happen? What can I say? I'm a little insane. I'm not alone in this. This actually kind of came about in Jan Agaton's The Layer Discord. Giant shout out to Jan if you ever want to join an awesome Patreon. Highly recommend. We were talking about another booktuber who did this challenge. I don't remember her handle off the top of my head, but I'll put a link to that in the description down below. Jan and Shay were like, I think I'm gonna try this. And a bunch of us have ended up joining into it. I'm gonna try. I actually have an obscenely large TBR for this because I have a layout of reading books physically, and then I also have my audiobooks because trust me, audiobooks are going to be helping me out a ton for this, seeing as how I can listen to those during the week when I'm at work. This is actually the second day of the challenge. I meant to film an update yesterday, but it just didn't happen. However, I've already finished 2 books. Part of my layout for my TBR also is I have some books that I'm planning to have reviews of and dedicated videos, and then I have other books that like I just want to get read. If you've watched any of my themed reading vlogs, you know that 9 times out of 10, I film an update at the halfway point. Meaning, once I hit that halfway point, I have to stop the audiobook and I will have a second audiobook that I don't have a stopping point in. For example, I started into 10,000 Doors of January by 𝗖cie RH yesterday. And once I hit the halfway point, I had to put it on pause. I typed up my thoughts, and then I started into the audio of Illuminate by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. So let's start out with 10,000 Doors of January. Honestly, not really loving this. I have considered DNFing it a few times now. I also made a connection that can't unsee, which is this feels very much like a copy of The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern in certain situations, but I think the historical time period and certain elements of the main character January just make her really frustrating to follow. So even though the writing itself is very lyrical, it's very atmospheric, and there's all this stuff about the wonder of books, I'm just not really enjoying this nearly as much. I'm having a really hard time getting into the plot itself, actually. Then there's the book within a book format, which is something I also tend to really enjoy. But here, it's not working for me. Well, initially, I didn't understand how the elements in the internal book really mattered to the elements of like the external book. I don't feel like those excerpts flow well with the plot. There's also footnotes that happen with it, and I'm not a big fan of footnotes. So yeah, I hit the halfway point and it was frustrating. So once I had to stop with that, I then started into Illuminate, like I said, and this was my pick by my friend Allie for my 12 Recs by 12 Friends. This is a sci-fi story following these 2 characters who are exes. Basically, a catastrophic event happens on their planet. They escape onto these 2 separate spaceships. Now, while they're living on these spaceships, the AI is kind of starting to become evil and take over, but then there's also this evil giant corporation, republic-esque figure that is also coming to attack these spaceships. It was a little complicated, and so honestly, it did take me a bit to get into the actual story just because you're thrown into the middle of it, and the book is told in multimedia formats. So it's chat logs, interviews, explanations of excerpts from video footage, incident reports, or like personal logs, things like that. So there isn't a lot of exposition with this book at the beginning. And while it's really cool, it's hard to allow for depth in characters and like easy exploration of the plot quickly because there's not exposition. So like you have to follow along with the evidence given to you to figure it out yourself. Because of that, it was a slow start for me. But once I got settled into the plot, and particularly once we get to see the dynamic between Ezra and Katie, I did start to like this a lot more. Katie is way too smart for her own good and kind of forces herself into the middle of this situation between the AI and the staff of these spaceships themselves on top of the Republic-esque thing. She is determined to do what is right and to try and save as many people as possible, but she also is a teenager, and so she's really emotional at times. I really liked Katie, and I had a hard time ignoring her thought processes because it's so hard not to root for her. Even when she's doing things that are kind of dumb, you want her to succeed. So I did finish this one out this morning, actually. Last night, when I had some physical reading time, I continued reading into the Guncle. I am still really liking this. There was some familial drama that was taking place with Patrick and his sister because she thinks she would be better suited to take care of these children, but Patrick just like refuses to allow that to happen because they've been so good for him, and he actually has been doing really well with them. So I'm really liking this one. Josh was over last night, so I did take a little bit of time off to watch some TV with him, and I didn't get to like film an update of 10,000 Doors of January yet, but I'm doing that now after I film this one. So I'll continue reading this audiobook, meaning today when I finished with 𝗖cie, I couldn't continue with January. I had to do another audiobook. I went with The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley, which was my pick from my friend Kat for my 12 Recs by 12 Friends. And honestly, I'm a little mad at her for that. I don't know why. I totally misremembered why she picked this for me. I thought she read it and hated it and wanted me to hate it. No, she owns it but doesn't want to read it for herself and was forcing me to read it to tell her if I think she'll like it or not, which upon finishing, no, I don't think she will. I did start and finish this today. I listened to the audiobook all day long and hated it. Okay, maybe not hated it. I didn't really like this. And you alternate between so many different characters, most of them being terrible people. I just wasn't really shocked by anything, actually. I think every single twist this book took, except for one, didn't surprise me. I totally expected them. I guess there was one reveal that also kind of caught me off guard, but it was in the way of like, really? It's been seen so many times now and been done so much better in other novels. I couldn't believe Foley was trying to pull that off. So for this one, we're following this woman who just got into a little bit of trouble in London and ends up going to stay with her half-brother who has been living in Paris as a journalist. But upon arriving there, he has disappeared, and so she tries to figure out what happened to him by interviewing all the other people in his apartment building. I'll give it to Foley that like it does spiral a lot from there, but I just didn't like how it spiraled from there. A lot of this book felt like I was continuing to read it so I could get my page count in. I wasn't continuing to read it because I was enjoying it. There's also a shocking number of sexual scenes in this that just, I don't get why it was really needed. If I'm looking for that sort of content, I'm going to a romance book, not to a thriller book, so that really got me off guard. So as of last night, I have read 701 pages. Just doing the math here between finishing 𝗖cie and The Paris Apartment, I've read 492 pages. So that currently puts me at just shy of 1,200. Doing pretty solid. As I said, I'm gonna film my update so that I can read 10,000 Doors of January, and then I think I might read a manga tonight because that'll give me like a nice little boost to pages without taking too much time. But I do need to finish the Guncle, and then I also have a nonfiction book that rolled over from June that I need to finish. My physical reading has been terrible lately, so hopefully I can work on that. Tomorrow's the 4th, but I'm actually gonna be going to my grandma's with my dad. I won't have as much reading time during the day, and plus my grandma's neighbor is going to be getting rid of a bunch of books, so he said I can flip through them and see if there's anything I like, and he'll let me take it for free. Hey guys, so we're into day 3 of this challenge. Happy 4th. Did a lot of reading yesterday, actually. I think I closed out the day over 700 pages. I don't remember exactly, but I know I've topped 1,400 pages so far for this challenge, so we're doing pretty solid. Unfortunately though, I have not gotten a ton read today. I finished out 10,000 Doors of January this morning. And honestly, this is pretty in line with The Paris Apartment. Did not love it. It is a book that I read. At the very least, this helps me finish a video. There's that. I did read some more of The Guncle by Stephen Rowley last night. I was actually very much hoping to finish it last night, but that didn't happen because someone, Sam, ate a string, fell down a rabbit hole on Google, and then freaked myself out, and then had to talk to people in my life to calm myself down from freaking out and taking him to a veterinary hospital. This child worries me. Anyway, so I didn't quite finish this last night, but I did make a good dent. I don't have too much left over. Hopefully I'll be finishing it today. I also realized I never talked to y'all about the fact that I read Bingo Love by, it's on the screen, but this is just a cute little graphic novel that I got from Hoopla, and it's basically about these two women who fell in love when they were like, I don't know, let's say 17 in the 60s, but unfortunately got caught by their grandparents and forced apart, then both forced to marry men, and they end up reconnecting as adults. It's been very cute, a little heart-wrenching. I've just been like picking it up here and there when I have a few seconds on my phone when I like can't be listening to an audiobook or something else. So I'm nearly finished with that because I read a little bit more of it today. Since I finished 10,000 Doors of January this morning, I ended up starting into the audio of An Education in Malice by 𝗖cie Gibson. This was the Story Continued's June book club pick, and unfortunately I didn't get to it then, so I wanted to go ahead and try now. I also ended up figuring out a video that this would work for, so that is great for video planning that. And honestly, it's going pretty well. Like, I've heard a lot of mid things on it and that it just doesn't quite compare to Dowry of Blood, so I did go in expecting that. And yes, almost immediately, like I could tell the writing is just it's just not the same. It's elements of the story that call back to Dowry and some of the ambiance there, but it's just not as phenomenal as Dowry is, in my opinion. It's going pretty well. I've been listening to it for the last few hours, I guess. I did fall asleep listening to it on the couch, unfortunately. Whoops. But I just finished taking a little break to type up some reviews and do some filming.
Day 36, 7:08 a.m. 58 hours, gone. A box identical to the one that had appeared on Grace's pillow in the night sat in place of a plate in Anna's spot at the breakfast table. She knew why it was there. Her father thought she'd be safer with it.
William Morrow and Harper Audio present Horror Movie, a novel by Paul Tremblay, performed by 𝗖cie, Danny Martinek, 𝗖cie, Michael Crouch, Frankie Corzo, 𝗖cie Gonzalez, Tyler Collier, Ariel Blake, Jonathan McLean, Dan Bittner, Eva Kaminsky, and 𝗖cie Chipe.
Hey guys, so it has been a hot second since I've talked to this vlog, but I have actually gotten a lot of reading done, even though I'm definitely falling behind on this challenge. It's gonna be a really long update. Let's just take things from the top. Read the rest of the graphic novel Bingo Love by T. Franklin. That was really cute. I read the like special edition version, so there was some little mini comics in the end where it dived in a bit more into like some of the side characters and their reactions to the reveal that was taking place in the story. It was cute. It was a very short read. I mostly just wanted more from it. Then I finally finished reading The Guncle by Stephen Rowley. Adorable. It was so freaking cute. I really liked how it talked about grief and kind of like finally allowing Patrick to move on, but also just made me want to go hug my nieces and nephews. It was very, very sweet. And it recently actually got a sequel, so I'm intrigued to try that one out. I think I read the entirety of An Education in Malice by 𝗖cie Gibson, which is the second book and like the same universe as Dowry of Blood. It didn't quite have the pull that Dowry did, particularly when it comes to the writing. I mean, the writing just was non-comparable. I liked the relationships, I liked the themes that were being talked about, but I wanted more from that book overall. I wish that the plot had been explored a little bit earlier, and when it came to like the power imbalance, this weird manipulative relationship that Carmilla had with her professor, I wish that had been talked about a little bit more and also acknowledged by Carmilla herself a little bit more. So I get why a lot of people were let down by this book when, you know, you compare it to Dowry. They're just so different, but I still enjoyed it overall. I think because I went in with like much lower expectations. Then I also started into Sisters of the Lost Nation by Nick Medina. It's okay, honestly. Unfortunately, it's not really fulfilling what I went into this book wanting. I really thought the indigenous folklore element that's discussed at the beginning of the story was going to be a little bit more prevalent. The main character, Anna, does find solace in learning about indigenous history and learning about the area and their tribe, but it's just not nearly as at the forefront of the story as I was expecting. There is some heavy themes going on here, some serious topics that are definitely relevant and should be discussed. But like as a story, it's just been fine. I hit the halfway point here, or I was planning to read this for a video. I'm not really sure if I'm going to include it anymore. I still haven't filmed the update for this one, so I haven't worked any further in since hitting the halfway point. I fell down a little bit of a new fan fiction hole, which was problematic. I was like, you know what? This is reading. Somebody made an estimate of like how many words equate to how many pages. And so I followed that, meaning I read about 246 pages of fan fiction. So it helped my numbers at the very least. And like I said, I also continued reading Sisters of the Lost Nation. And once I hit the halfway point in that, I started the audiobook of Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay. And this is kind of like our buddy read that we have for Jan Agaton's Discord. I've never read any Paul Tremblay previously, but I went into this knowing his work is really well known for being weird. Following this guy who is the sole survivor of the cast that created this cult-like horror movie that came out, I think in the 90s is what they were saying. It was showcased in like 3 different theaters and never shown anywhere else. And we're following as he is being propositioned for a reboot to be created and they want him to be involved. It was something, I will say that. But I do think this book taught me that I like horror stories around horror movies, because this worked really well when it came to the movie elements of the book. I had issues with other parts of the story, but overall, I think like I was so invested in the movie itself, and I was actually like watching it unfold in my mind. I didn't even mind that I wasn't super connected with the characters, and the layout of the story is a little wonky because you alternate back and forth timelines. Even still though, like I said, I did enjoy it. Then I also read Soul Eater, Volume 14 by 𝗖cie Ich𝗁𝗁𝗁. I officially picked up a manga because, you know, this is a great way to get a lot of pages done in a short amount of time. We're still in the middle of like a huge fight going on right now, and everybody is basically just trying to survive. We see some really awesome bits about Kid and Black Star in this one, so I really liked that. Then we also had a little bit of background on Soul, and he's one of my faves, so I really enjoyed that. I don't actually remember if that bit about Soul was in the anime. You think we're done? No, we have more. So I read a little bit more of fan fiction on Friday, Saturday, whatever that day that was. I also finished out Horror Movie. And then I started into my arc that I have of The Faculty Lounge by Jennifer Matthew, which I'm going to be reading for an arc reading vlog, meaning I won't talk about it too much here, following these teachers. And I just thought it was going to be focusing on like teachers dealing with a lot of the issues of today. Yes and no, because the way the book starts is a sub has just passed in the faculty lounge, and we're kind of watching how it impacts all of the different teachers and like how it makes them think about their own experiences. It's been a weird ride so far, if I'm being honest, but I am enjoying it. And then I was doing a ton of stuff around the house where I listened to the entirety of The Haunting of Elkwood by Gwendolyn Kist, and this was Jan Agaton's Full Moon Book Club pick. Basically, this town essentially turned into a literal ghost town. Like everyone in the town is a ghost and frozen in time. There were these 3 friends who lived there but were not affected by this, and one of them is going back for the first time. It was weird. It was very unique, which was impressive because like the very base elements of the story have been done a million times, but I really liked the way the themes of the story were woven together with the plot. That kept me really engaged. It was very gothic, just so unsettling, and the atmosphere was very strong. So I did actually really like that one, and it was a fast read. Then I started into Murder Road by Simone St. James, which I also listened to on audio, even though I have this gorgeous Evernight edition. I've really enjoyed Simone St. James's previous works, so I went into this one hopeful. We're following this married couple who's going on their honeymoon, end up picking up this woman who's a hitchhiker, but turns out she has some severe wounds, and once they take her to the hospital, the police believe this couple is responsible for it. Come to find out, this is not the first time something like this has happened, and they take it upon themselves to try and investigate what's going on, plus there's a little bit around like their romance, and then they each have their own complicated background that lends into why they're good investigators or why they know what to do here. I actually liked this until we started getting answers. Once those were being revealed, I think it was just a little too convenient whilst also being ridiculous for me. I liked both of the characters. I liked the exploration of their backgrounds, but the mystery itself was weird. And I don't know if maybe like this being my first of Simone St. James's books that doesn't do the alternate timelines might be part of why I wasn't really prepared for the way the plot unfolded, because I guess it works better when you have the two timelines to see how the things connect, but how the things connected here, it just, again, it seemed like very convenient. Final answer was just, I don't know, it didn't feel like the author had laid things out for us to guess that. It just felt like it was dropped there all of a sudden. I'm still gonna keep this one because it's freaking gorgeous, and I did like half of the book. Oh, I forgot I had The Haunting of Elkwood in the stack as well. So today, I didn't pick up that book. I need to go get that. Today, I've been listening to the entirety of The Only One Left by Riley Sager, finally getting around to this one. I guess not the entirety. I maybe have like 20 minutes left in the audiobook. I gotta say, Sager does it again with this one. This one gave me like the ridiculous, crazy twist after twist after twist situation that I expect from Sager. It just felt so much more well done than Survive the Night did it. And thank God for that, honestly. I don't really know if I love the final reveal, but a lot of what's been going on in the story works really great. The atmosphere is fantastic. I like our main character, and I understand why she gets really invested in trying to solve this. It's wild, it's gothic, it's a fun time. I'm not at all surprised that I read the majority of it in a single sitting again, because I've been listening to it all day. I started it this morning when I took Faith on a walk, and I've been listening to it constantly. So yeah, that is a catch up for where I am right now. My current page count, let me do some quick math. Once I finish this, I will be at 4,220 pages, or on the 7th day of this challenge. Not nearly where I want to be. Highly doubt I will hit 10K, but honestly, at least this is helping me work down a ton of reading. And this video is also sort of working for my Summerween, which I am already nearly finished with. So the only one left is a thriller book that finishes out the first one, Murder Road. Obviously there's headlights, so it has to be nighttime, so this completes the night on the cover. Sisters of the Lost Nation will finish out read a book with 5 or more words in the title once I finish this. And then both of these could also conceivably work for a book set in the summertime. I've done a great job already. Nearly finished with Summerween. Nearly finished with that at the fourth day of Summerween.
2023, Penguin Random House, LLC. All rights reserved.
The police officer's body goes blurry, then sharpens again. I don't dare stare at him directly. I can't really focus on one thing in this room, but when I do, his face shimmers. His badge, the rectangular nameplate.
Hello, my friends. So happy Tuesday. Honestly, part of me has just accepted the fact that I probably will not read 10K pages, but the other half of me is like, you know, we're just gonna keep trucking. We're gonna keep trying. Just find out how many pages will I end up reading at the end of this, because it's July 9th, and this isn't even the complete stack of books that I've finished so far. Wild, very impressive. So I did finish out The Only One Left last night. And there were some final twists that took place in this that crazy. I like actually part of it kind of made me think of another very popular thriller, which I personally have no interest in reading and had a friend spoil for me. That was kind of ironic. I'll admit the realist in me, the logic-based person in me, that twist did sort of mess with my enjoyment. But overall, pleasantly surprised. I think Sager is back. I am going to be picking up what's it called, Middle of the Night, his newest one. I think I'll be picking that one up now after this one went so well. Then last night, while Josh was gaming, I read some manga. So I read Soul Eater Volume 15 and Volume 16. This one continued with lots of action, and it was pretty wild. There's also a twist here with a betrayer, and just like this one was a really fun time. Then I read it into number 16, and so this one's a little bit more slow by comparison. Things have calmed down, but there's still steps that need to be taken. There's still people that need to be saved, people that need to be beaten. Yet we spend a lot of time in this one more building up some different characters. We do see a bit more around Maka and Soul, and some improvements now that Soul's officially a death weapon. That's awesome. Plus, how this one ends makes me very excited to pick up 17. This morning, I finally returned to Sister of the Lost Nations by Nick Mendina and finished this one out, and I was shocked at how much I liked the second half of this book, because the first half, I think I talked with y'all, it was very meh for me, but this pulled it out. It felt like a completely different story, and I don't know why that is, apart from the fact that the first half had these alternating timelines, and then the second half was purely after the main character's little sister's disappearance. Maybe it's because of the anxiety going on there, but I was just so much more hooked in. Then I decided it was time. I finally returned to Legendborn by Tracy Deonn, and I started back from the beginning of this audiobook, listening to it while I was at work. I previously DNF'd this at like 15%, I think about a year ago actually, and unfortunately have once again decided to DNF it at 30%. It just isn't working for me. I think it's a mix between, there's a million characters named, none of them have depth apart from the main character Bree. There's so much info dumping, but in like the strangest way possible, where there's a ton of time dedicated to exploring the worlds and the magic system, yet I was still so lost. I'm not really sure what half of the words being used mean. Could not wrap my head around the magic system. So yeah, I'm gonna be in the minority on that one, and just it didn't work for me. I'm bummed. Since that was my audiobook, I'm not sure what I want to read next. I'm between either The Eye of Darkness by George Mann or The Haunting of Maddie Clare by Simone St. James. Neither of these audiobooks I can get from the library. I would have to listen to them on Spotify. I'm in between right now and unsure of which one I want to use my Spotify hours for. I don't know which one I want to go with. I have continued reading little bits into The Faculty Lounge by Jennifer Matthew. It does seem like it's going to start exploring more around what I thought this book would be, and it does look like we're going to be alternating around through many of the different teachers and the principal at this school. I'm not sure how that's going to go character-wise, just because it might get hard to be invested in these characters when you don't spend that much time with them. This is an ebook. Y'all know I don't like reading on my phone, so I've just been picking it up every once in a while when I have the chance. Where I ended last night, I think I was just shy of 500 pages. That's 5,000 pages. I'm currently around like 200 for the day. So I might read volume 17 of Soul Eater tonight. And like I said, I need to make a decision on what audiobook I'm gonna listen to next. I tried to make my friends pick for me, but they didn't help. Josh might be forced into choosing one of these for me. We'll see.
Have created some magical disaster in the less than 12 hours she's been gone, I'm going to be very disappointed in you. They're being dramatic, Kate called from the storage room. And when Gwen pulled back the curtain, she saw the other two witches sitting on the floor, surrounded by pieces of parchment, some bags of loose herbs, and a heap of wax pieces. And this
Hey guys, so it's officially over. It's Friday. It is the end of this challenge. I can't believe I'm finished with it, honestly. I did not complete it. I didn't hit 10,000 pages in 10 days, but if I'm being very honest with myself, I didn't think that was going to happen. Last night, I was listening to the audiobook of The Eye of Darkness by George Mann, and I had to get this one from Spotify. On Spotify Premium, you only get 15 hours of audiobook listening time for free. This book is just over 15 hours. I hit the point where I was out of audiobook listening time and realized I don't want to listen to any more audiobooks. I have not listened to an audiobook since then. I'm giving my brain a little bit of a break. That is an element of this challenge I was a little nervous about, going into a slump. I wouldn't quite say I'm in a slump. I'm still very invested in the stories I am reading at this moment. I do think I could just use a day off, a break for my brain. So I stopped at about 360 pages in The Eye of Darkness. This is going better in the second half, but it's still not really living up to what I was wanting from it, unfortunately. I do think there's been some well showcasing of how manipulative our key villain character is, and we've seen a little bit more, I can't even really say a relationship dynamic, but understanding of a relationship between these two Jedi, even though they have not actually interacted in the book. It's been interesting how man has showcased that to us. I did, however, finish The Kiss Curse by Erin Sterling yesterday, so that's solid. This was really cute, very easy, exactly what I went into this book wanting, which is like a silly rom-com Halloween town. Plus, I read a little bit more of The Faculty Lounge by Jennifer Matthew. I'm continuing to really enjoy that. I actually just filmed an update for my ARC reading vlog because I want to keep reading it. I've hit just at the halfway point and it's going pretty well for me. It's like a collection of vignettes talking about just, unfortunately, different crap that teachers have to deal with, or elements that you don't necessarily think of come up in a teacher's life. Plus, I did read a tiny bit of fan fiction yesterday morning because I didn't feel like getting up to take a walk. But I was already awake, so. So to repeat, I did not hit 10,000 pages. I was just shy of 6,000 pages. And I read 16 books in 10 days, which is a lot. It's a lot of reading done. This was a fun challenge. I definitely would love to try this again, but not for quite some time. As I said, I think my brain needs a little bit of a break. I love reading, I do. I'm still very engaged in all the books I'm currently reading, but I gotta lighten up on it a little bit. I think actually this weekend and maybe even starting next week, I'm gonna try and focus more on like filming and editing stuff so my brain has a little bit of time away from reading. It was also very interesting to realize, because I was so focused on the pages read, I really was prioritizing either audiobooks or manga. I wasn't really physically reading very much because I didn't have time for it. Physically reading wasn't the most efficient way for me to get the most amount of pages. You know, that's not a bad thing at all because I love listening to audiobooks. I still consumed all these stories. I also was able to continue working on manga, but there are a ton of books also on my TBR for this month that I know or was hoping to read physically. This challenge wasn't great for physical reading in that case. Those books didn't really get prioritized since I was doing this challenge. So yeah, I didn't technically succeed, but this was still a very fun reading vlog. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I guess let's say if you got all the way to the end of this video, leave me a sparkle emoji in the comments down below. And on that note, that is it for today, y'all. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. I have all my socials as well as a few ways you can support me linked in the description. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!